All right, number one, find the exact value of all trig functions. Let's go ahead and write it, I guess. Find the exact value of all 6 trig functions at pi over 2. So basically just plug in pi over 2 into sine, cosine, etc. So sine of pi over 2 is going to be 1. Cosine of pi over 2 on your circle, that's going to be 0. Tangent of pi over 2 is undefined, right? You see that you're going to have 1 over 0 because tangent is sine over cosine. So you should have undefined for this one. Also accept 1 over 0, but you should say something about that right after. Cosecant will be the reciprocal of 1, so 1. Secant will also be undefined. Cotangent will be 0. Do you have any questions on how we found those? Is that okay? If you don't see the cotan, remember that tangent is 1 over 0. So cotan would be 0 over 1, which is okay. 0 over 1 is 0. Is that clear? Let me know. If not, I'll show more details. Any question on number 1? All right. I hope everybody got that one. Number 2. What is the terminal and reference angle? Remember, I told you terminal means the angle where you stopped at, the coterminal angle of that, of the angle they're talking about. So for 700, just subtract until you have 360, right? Subtract until you're below 360. No, just one time should do it. So the terminal angle is going to be 340 degrees. Reference 340 is in quadrant 4. So the rule says, well, what do we do with 340? Yeah. Take 360, subtract 340. So the reference would be 20. Any question on number 2? All right. Move on to 3 then, if you're good. Oh, forgot B. B was negative 420. So the terminal, just add 360 until you're above 0. So negative 420 plus 360 plus 360. So 300 degrees is the terminal angle. So reference would be the same as before. That's quadrant. Well, actually, what quadrant is it? Is it 3 or 4? 4, right? Yeah, it still is. So 360 minus 300 would be the rule that we use because it's in quadrant 4. All right, any questions on part B? All right, number 3. Find the exact value of the following. Part A, sine of 480 degrees. So we got to find the coterminal angle and then find it on the circle. So 480 minus 360, 120. So this is the same as sine of 120. So what is that? What is sine of 120? Is it square root 3/2? You guys agree? All right. Part B will be the same thing, but with cosine. Cosine of 480 is equal to cosine of 120, which would be -½ because it's in quadrant 2. Any issues with number 3? I've spelled it wrong. Just noticed. Covert. No. Convert the following. Go ahead. Convert the following to radians or degrees, depending what the question is given. List the quadrants. Okay. So part A is 3π/8. So convert it. We got to multiply 3π/8 by 180 over pi. So these cancel. We get to 3 times 180 over 8. Does 8 go into 180? Looks like 4 does. So we can do 4 times 45 over 2 times 4. 3 times 45, what is that? Yeah, 135, right? Now, it doesn't look like it's going to be a pretty answer. You can leave it that way, or you can divide it by 2. If you use a decimal, I didn't say anything about exact, so it'd be fine. Technically, you could have said right here 67.5 degrees, but you should show some work. Okay. So I'll accept this one or this one. But if you show no work, then you're in trouble. We've talked about that. Part B. That's cool. Any questions on part A? Right. Oh, forgot the quadrant. What quadrant is 67.5 in? Yeah. Quadrant 1. Okay, part B. 220 degrees. Right away, we can mention a quadrant, right? What quadrant is this? Yeah, it has to be. Okay, now the work that you would show multiplied by pi over 180. So that would be 220 pi over 180. What does that reduce to? This one you should leave as a fraction. 11 over 9? I think you're right. That would be 22 over 18. 2, yeah. 11 pi over 9. Let me write it over here because I can't see it. Anyway, any questions on part B? Is that clear? Okay. Turn the page in a second. All right. Number 5. What is the amplitude, period, vertical, horizontal, shift? Shift of this guy right here, y equal to -1/2 sine of 2x plus 3 pi over 2. I don't know why I wrote that so small, but let me write it again. So what is the amplitude? That's gonna be 1/2. Period is gonna be 2 pi over omega, which is 2 pi over 2, right? So 2's cancel, leaving you with pi. Phase shift or horizontal shift is going to be negative 3 pi over 4. Let me write the formula. I think we used C in the notes. C over omega or B. But it's always the opposite. In the notes, we had it as a minus. So this should be minus here. So we should have negative 3 pi over 4. When you divide this 2 in here, I'm sure it's on your formula sheet. Vertical shift is just 0. It doesn't move up or down. Any questions on 5?
So for the bottom, you just ignore the 92.
Yeah, when you divide by 2, flips over, you do times half. But you can also think of it as I'm dividing a half in 2, which is a quarter. Whatever makes sense. But yes, that's what's happening. Any other questions on 5? Is it okay? Do you feel like the test wasn't that bad after all? I hope everybody got A's on it. I haven't started looking at it, but that's what I'm telling myself. See. Arc10 of screw 3 over 3. On this one, you don't really have to show any work. Just find it on the circle. Remember that it's supposed to be in the right half of the circle. What angle is this? $60, right? Or pi over 3. Yeah. There's not much to say there. We just got to look at the circle and divide sine over cosine. Find the 6 trig functions. Given that cosine theta is equal to negative 5/13 and theta is in this quadrant. So what I recommend on this one is build a triangle. You could have also used the formulas if you wanted to. And then just find the 6 trig functions. So I'm gonna put my triangle over here. Cosine is defined as adjacent over hypotenuse. Since we are in quadrant 2, right? Then sine has to be positive. So when we solve for sine for the y part, it should be positive. To do Pythagorean theorem, even though I think this is one of the magic triangles, but who cares? Plug in your 5, plug in your 13. The b will equal plus or minus the square root of 13 squared minus, doesn't really matter if it's negative or not, because I'm going to square it. Could have put a 5 there. But those details, I'm sure you know you've done many times, you know how to do it. But if you have a question on it, let me know. Yeah, magic triangle. When you see the 5 and 13, the other one is always 12. You don't really have to find it. Like the 3, 4, 5, it's another one. There's a few of them. So if you saw it, you could have just written this down. If you didn't see it, you would have to do this work. So now that I have the pieces, 12 needs to be positive. Right? Because it's going to come out as plus or minus 12. You choose plus because of this quadrant. So now you find your 6 trig functions. Sine is going to be opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine, well, we have it. So tangent would be opposite over adjacent. Cosecant would be just a reciprocal. And that's it, cotangent. Any questions on number 7? If you use your formulas instead of the triangle, that's fine. But make sure you chose the right size. You could have used sine squared plus cosine squared equals to 1. You would have ended up with the same thing. That's cool on 7. Just let me know. All right. I'll turn the page in a second. Is it cool if I turn the page? No, it's no rush. All right, number 8. And we're going to give you a triangle. And told you to find the sine, cosine, tangent of phi. Given x equal to 24, y equal to 10, and z equal to 26. Find a sine of phi, cosine phi, tangent phi. The triangle's over here. Here's theta, and here is phi. Okay, so sine of phi would be, you just go ahead and put them here if you want. 10, 24, 26. Might be a little easier to just kind of see it. So sine of phi is the opposite over hypotenuse, so that would be 10. Oh, actually, no. We gotta look at from the perspective of phi. Phi's up here, so opposite is down there. Hypotenuse doesn't change though. So you should have 24 over 26. If you didn't reduce it, I'm not gonna take points away. But you should have reduced it. Cosine phi, I'm up here, adjacent is now there. So this will be 10 over 26. Tangent phi would be opposite over adjacent, so that'll be 24 over 10. Reduce, this would be what? Any questions on number 8? I'm hoping that one wasn't too bad, but guess we'll see. All right, number 9 then. Last one, almost done. Or 2 more. Find the cosine of tan inverse of x. So step 1, we said let theta equal that inside part. Step 2, use the definition to say that there exists some x where this angle tangent of theta is equal to some x. Apply the definition. Step 3, we'll do it over here. Build your triangle. Putting theta right there, so that means that x is here. 1 is there. Hypotenuse will be this when you solve for it. Let's skip the Pythagorean unless you have a question on it. Is that clear? Okay. So now answer the question, well, what is cosine of theta? Well, that is cosine of tangent, which is cosine of theta, which is adjacent over hypotenuse. Okay, and if you should have rationalized, but I won't take points off. It should have become this. multiply top and bottom by the radical, you end up with this guy. I don't like how that looks. I'll show the steps just in case you don't know what I'm talking about. So we'll get to here. Okay. Any question on number 9? Is that all right? I'll turn the page in a moment. Yeah, let's go on this page. Number 10. Solve the right triangle with angle A equal to 36, side A equal to 12. So you can choose where you want to put it. So remember that the corner has been C for the right angle. I think in the notes we call this one A and B. Once you've chosen that, remember that opposite sides will be the lowercase. Opposite right here. Opposite right there. Lowercase c's hypotenuse. So we have 36 for this guy. And this one is 12. Okay, so I'm gonna write this better. Like we did in the notes. So capital B and little b, we don't have it. We have this angle, right? Hits the corner. So we should have capital B as well. That one should be easy to find. So the work to find capital B would be 180 minus 36 minus 90. What is that going to be? 54? You agree? 180 minus 90 is 90. 54. So we have 3 angles, we're missing 2 sides. So we have to use the trig functions to help us out. And you can choose any trig function you want, just make sure it has an unknown and you're using one of the known angles. Let's see. If I use tangent, I could group these two together, tangent of A, and solve for a little b, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be tangent. So step one here, step two. Tangent of 36 is equal to opposite over adjacent. So now solve for B. You could have used cotangent or something. So multiply both sides by B. Or if you prefer, do your cross multiply. And you'll end up here. After that, you have to use your calculator. So 16.52, I guess. Okay, now do the something similar for side C. I'm gonna use sine. There's many ways to do this, so you may have gone a different route. This would be 12 over C. Do the same thing as before. Multiply both sides by C. Divide by sine on both sides, and you'll have C equal to 12 over sine 36. I skipped some of the algebra steps. Is that okay? Do you see how we got here? We're there. Let me know. Let me know if you if you forgot some of your algebra. $20.42. Okay, so we got B, little b, little c, angle B. Any question on number 10? Okay. I guess we could do the bonus on the next page. If you got the bonus right, I'll replace one question. Okay. Otherwise, it's worth 10 points. But the bonus problem said there was a giant redwood that casts a shadow of 532 feet long. Find the height of the tree if the angle of elevation to the sun is 25.7. Okay. So this is what I'm picturing. Got some sun over here. Got some tree casting a shadow. Since the sun's behind the tree, the shadow extends this way. 532 feet. Angle of elevation to the sun, what's about there somewhere. Angle will be 25.7. So you're right here, staring at the sun like a weirdo. Looking up. Find the height of the tree, which essentially would be opposite side, right? So use tangent. Tan of 25.7 is equal to the opposite, which we can call this X, I guess, over 532 feet, the adjacent side, So multiply both sides by 532 and you end up here. Whatever that is. So the height of the tree is 256 0.03 feet. I didn't mention anything about decimal places, so if you use 2 or 1, it's whatever. Okay. We were designing spaceships, it would be very important, but here it's not. So I'll leave it to your discretion. If you round it a whole number, it's cool. It's fine. Any questions on any of the problems? Yeah.
So would it be like other angle would be the equal of something indicated by the angle of elevations and wouldn't the angle of elevation be where the little guy is standing that angle?
Yeah, this is it. This is the elevation here. I'm just looking up.
Why isn't that plus something?
Yes.
It's the same thing. The question asked to find the angle of elevation.
The question asked, find the height of the tree if the angle of elevation is 25.7. Yeah, so the assumption is that there's a shadow being cast by the sun, so it should be behind the tree. Right. It wouldn't make sense to find the height of the sun because it's in space. But I can see the confusion there. Maybe it should have been worded better. If you put the sun somewhere else, it might look strange. But essentially, this all you had to do was find the opposite side. But anyway, just a bonus question, it's not a big deal. If you got close to it, I'll give you some partial credit. Stop here, guys.